The wolf senses it before pain ever arrives. A shift in the air, a tightening behind the smiles. Fenrir stands on stone slick with frost and old magic. His shadow stretches too long, bending against the walls of Asgard like something trying to escape the light. Gods surround him in a loose circle. Too far away to be brave, too close to run. Around his legs coils a ribbon. Not iron, not steel. Something worse, soft, pale, almost beautiful. It looks harmless. That is the first lie. Fenrir exhales. His breath fogs the air, carrying the smell of storms and slaughter not yet born. His jaws could snap Thor's, hammer in half. His claws itch for blood, and yet he waits. Because there is a hand in his mouth, not shoved in, not trembling, offered. Tyr's hand rests between Fenrir's teeth, steady as stone. No tremor, no sweat, no glance toward the others. He does not pray. He does not bargain. He simply trusts the rules to finish what fear started. Fenrir locks eyes with him. He knows this god, knows his scent, knows his voice. If this is a trick, Fenrir warned, you lose your hand. The ribbon tightens. It does not snap. It does not strain. It holds. The gods stop breathing. Fenrir understands everything in that moment. The future, the lie, the purpose of mercy. His jaws close. Bone cracks. Blood spills. A scream tears through the hall. And still, here is the paradox. Fenrir will slaughter gods, end the world, drown creation in fire and ash. But he never hated Tyr. He trusted him. Enough to wait, enough to believe, enough not to kill him when he had the chance. Why?
Unveil the legends.
Before chains, before prophecy sharpened its knife, Fenrir was a child raised among enemies, not born in Asgard. Brought there, dragged in by Odin's command, wrapped in suspicion before he ever opened his eyes. Loki's son, a stain that breathed. A future problem given fur and teeth. At first, the gods laughed. Then Fenrir grew. Too fast, too large, too aware. Every day his paws pressed deeper into the earth. Every night his hunger sharpened. He listened. He watched. He learned how gods spoke when they thought no one important was listening. Odin stared at him like a riddle with teeth. Thor hated him. Openly, violence was easier than fear. The others avoided him. Distance felt safer. Only Tyr stayed. Not because he was kind, because he believed order required responsibility. Tyr was not the loudest god, not the strongest, not the cleverest. He was something rarer, a god who believed words mattered, that oaths carved reality, that promises were binding even when they hurt. So he fed the wolf, sat beside him, placed his hand near Fenrir's mouth long before any chain was forged. Fenrir noticed. Predators always do. Tyr never flinched, and peace could not last, because the prophecy had already been spoken. Fenrir would kill Odin. Fenrir would devour the Allfather. Fenrir would usher in Ragnarök. The gods did not question the prophecy. They weaponized it. Fear became policy. Safety became law. And the wolf felt the shift. Kindness dried up. Rooms emptied faster. Eyes tracked him like crosshairs. Trust began to rot. The first chain was honest, heavy iron, forged openly. No tricks. Fenrir laughed when it snapped. The second chain roared with magic and arrogance. The gods wrapped it tight, cheering like children testing a dangerous toy. Fenrir tore it apart. That was when the laughter died. Silence replaced pride, because strength wasn't enough. So, they asked the dwarves for something better, something unfair. Gleipnir was born from impossibilities. Not strength, but absence. Not force, but deception. It weighed nothing, felt like nothing. And that terrified Fenrir more than any iron ever could. He refused. Smart enough to know traps don't always hurt at first. Unless one god would risk something real. Fenrir named the condition calmly. No threats, no rage. A hand inside his mouth. Proof. The gods panicked. Thor's hand twitched toward Mjolnir. Odin's eye flickered with calculation. None stepped forward, except Tyr. He did not argue, did not protest, did not ask for mercy. He stepped closer, placed his hand between the wolf's teeth. And Fenrir hesitated, because this was different. Tyr knew it was a lie, and he stayed anyway. That was the truth Fenrir trusted. When the ribbon tightened and did not break, understanding hit harder than pain ever could. Fenrir bit down, and the world changed shape. This is where the myth usually rushes past the uncomfortable part. It calls Tyr brave, calls the sacrifice noble, calls Fenrir a monster who got what he deserved. But look closer. Fenrir was never judged for an action. He was punished for a forecast, a future crime. That matters, because in Norse culture, law was sacred. Oaths were binding, even on gods. Justice was not supposed to be preventative. It was meant to be reactive. Balance restored after wrongdoing, not before. And Tyr knew this. He was the god of that system, which means his choice was not innocence. It was consent. Tyr did not believe Fenrir deserved the chain. He believed the world required it. And in that belief, he crossed a line none of the other gods were willing to cross openly. The others hid behind prophecy. Tyr made the lie legal. By placing his hand in Fenrir's mouth, he transformed deception into ritual. The loss of his hand became payment, a visible cost that made the imprisonment feel justified. Look at what happens after. The gods laugh. Not in relief, in victory, they mock Fenrir as he struggles. Odin speaks of cleverness. Loki screams, but his protests are ignored. The system has closed ranks. Tyr says nothing. His silence is louder than Thor's hammer. Here is the darker theory whispered between the lines of the Eddas. Tyr wasn't tricked. He volunteered to become the wound that made tyranny acceptable. Because systems survive on sacrifice, but they prefer someone else to bleed. Fenrir understands this instantly. Not rage, not madness. Clarity. The one god he trusted chose the world over him. That is not betrayal born of deceit. That is betrayal born of principle. And that is far more devastating. Because lies can be rejected. Principles cannot. From that moment on, Fenrir stops resisting, stops snapping at the chain, stops begging. He waits, because law teaches patience better than violence ever could. Time moves differently for the bound. Fenrir grows, not in size but in certainty. The ribbon cuts deeper with every struggle. Saliva pools. The earth splits beneath his jaw. One day, a sword is wedged between his teeth to keep them open, dripping venom into the soil. Rivers are born from his pain. Still, he waits. The gods believe the danger has passed. They build. They feast. They forget. That is the final mistake. When Ragnarök arrives, it does not feel sudden. It feels overdue. Fenrir breaks free, not with fury, but inevitability. The chain does not fail because it was weak. It fails because injustice never holds forever. He finds Odin, the god who feared prophecy so much he created it. No speech, no hesitation. Fenrir swallows him whole. The future fulfills itself, not because it was inevitable, but because it was enforced. And Tyr? He does not face Fenrir again. There. Story already ended. Instead, Tyr meets Garm, the Hound of Hell. Another guardian, another creature bound by duty, another symbol of order mistaken for safety. They kill each other, simultaneously. Perfect symmetry. The god who sacrificed a hand to uphold law sacrifices his life to it. Here's the irony, carved into the bones of the world. The gods tried to prevent Ragnarök by violating their own values. That violation guaranteed its arrival. Fenrir did not destroy the world out of hatred. He fulfilled a role shaped by fear. The gods created the monster they feared and then blamed him for becoming it. Fenrir trusted only one god, not the strongest, not the smartest, the one who told him the truth even when that truth was lethal. And that trust was used to end the world. Because when power fears the future, it sacrifices the present. And when law abandons justice, destruction stops being evil. It becomes correction. So ask the question honestly. Was Tyr a hero? Or was he the most dangerous god of all? The one who proved that moral sacrifice can justify any cruelty? Decide in the comments and keep listening. Because Fenrir had siblings. One drowned the world. One ruled the dead. And the way the gods dealt with them makes this story look merciful. That darkness comes next.